why most matchmakers fail in their first year and the systems that prevent it. Let's jump in. Most people who call themselves matchmakers never make it past the first year. And this is not because they lack a care for people or they lack intuition. They fail because they launch without systems required to survive. This episode names 10 predictable failure points that quietly take down well-intentioned practitioners every day and the infrastructure that prevents those failures. If you are considering matchmaking as a career, I highly encourage it. This episode can save you months of wasted effort and significant financial loss. If you are already operating, consider this a gut check. Let's dive in. The matchmaking industry has low barrier to entry, very high barrier to sustainability. Anyone can create a website, print business cards, and declare themselves a matchmaker. No license required, no form of business training is required, no proof of operational readiness is required. That reality explains why industry attrition is so high. Most people enter matchmaking with passion for helping others find love, but passion is not business qualification. Being good with people does not prepare someone to run a service business, particularly a service business that handles sensitive data, manages high emotional stakes, and operates under consumer protection laws. Before breaking down the systems, there are two fatal assumptions that need to be addressed. The first is, I can figure it out as I go. Matchmaking requires repeatable systems from day one. Improvisation with paying clients leads to reputation damage, refunds, disputes, and burnout. Clients cannot be a training ground. Assumption number two, I just need clients, everything else will fall into place. Early revenue without infrastructure accelerates failure. Money coming in does not equal viable business. In many cases, early success without systems creates larger problems faster. This episode establishes the baseline for the rest of season 2. Every conversation about ethics, pricing, compliance, technology, and client experience assumes these systems already exist. Let's dive in. Before anything else matters, there is a baseline question that has to be answered. Are you actually operating a business, or are you informally helping people while money changes hands? That distinction determines whether everything else that follows can hold up. The first mistake is launching without a business entity, without compliance structure, and without financial systems. Treating matchmaking as a side project rather than a regulated service business is a problem. And I can tell you that excitement does not replace preparation. Personal PayPal accounts, free email addresses, a quick website template, money starts changing hands without any real infrastructure, no registration, no business banking, no accounting system, no understanding of margins, expenses, or cash flow. This is a problem. Number 2, missing legal and compliance frameworks. Once the business exists on paper, the next risk shows up immediately: protection. This is where many matchmakers believe they are covered when they are not. The mistake? No legal or compliance framework. If I had a nickel for every time that a matchmaker asked me for a contract they can copy, I would not need to run a training academy. Many rely on generic templates or contracts distributed by schools that fail to account for jurisdictional differences across countries, states, and provinces. What works in one jurisdiction can be unenforceable in another. That creates false confidence and real liability. Failure point number 3 is no client management infrastructure. What does this mean? Even with contracts in place, operations fall apart quickly when client actively cannot be tracked, documented, or secured. This is where intention collides with reality. The mistake: using personal email, spreadsheets, generic tools to manage sensitive client data, no secure CRM, no documented intake, no audit trail. This is a problem. Problem number 4 is wrong pricing and positioning. At this stage, many matchmakers assume pricing is a marketing decision. It is not. Pricing determines client behavior, workload, and risk. The mistake: undercharging, menu pricing, free trials, and competing on affordability instead of value. Low pricing attracts misaligned clients and accelerates burnout. Failure number 5: even with pricing in place, everything else breaks down if the matchmaker is still learning fundamentals while clients are paying for outcomes. This is where good intentions cause real harm. Relying on weekend certifications or learning on paying clients without structured training or oversight is completely inappropriate. And at this point, it is worth naming something clearly. What most people call training in this industry is exposure, not preparation. Watching videos, attending a weekend certification, or learning on paying clients does not build professional readiness. It creates risk. Love Pro Mastermind Academy exists to close that gap. LPMA is a done-with-you training and implementation program for professional matchmakers. The focus is not theory. The focus is building the systems required to operate successfully, including business infrastructure, pricing strategy, client management, compliance awareness, and operational discipline. Students do not finish LPMA with ideas, they finish with systems in place. This is a minimum 6-month commitment for those with prior business experience and closer to a year to those without. There are no shortcuts, no weekend certifications, and no promises of quick success. The goal is not to help you call yourself a matchmaker. The goal is to help you operate as one. Now, let's move into failure number 6, because unrealistic timeline and expectations is a real problem. After training comes pressure. Pressure to earn faster, pressure to justify the investment, pressure to prove this was the right decision. This is where unrealistic expectations quietly sabotage otherwise capable operators. The mistake: expecting fast revenue and immediate success. 3 months without traction leads to panic and shortcuts. The system that prevents it: a realistic timeline, which includes 1 to 3 months for foundation and systems. By month 4 and 6, soft launch and refinement. Month 7 to 12, track record and referrals. And 13 through 18, position for accreditation consideration. Proper expectations prevent burnout. Professional matchmaking requires commitment, capital, and resilience. Failure number 7, no client boundaries or scope control. Once clients are active, a new risk appears: boundaries. Without clear scope control, service expands while compensation stays the same, and the mistake is allowing clients to dictate scope, access, availability, and emotional labor. Saying yes to constant calls, unlimited feedback, off-contract requests, and role confusion is a real problem. Failure number 8, when questions arise, documentation determines whether you are protected or exposed. Memory does not count as a system. Failing to document decisions, communications, match rationale, and service delivery, relying on recollection instead of records, is a major problem. Failure number 9, no collaboration or referral standards. Professional matchmaking does not operate in isolation. Without standards for collaboration, reputational risk increases. Referring clients or matches informally without vetting standards, documentation, or shared expectations, accepting referrals without clarifying on ethics, fees, or client handling is an ongoing problem in this industry. And finally, failure point number 10 is founder burnout disguised as passion. Burnout rarely announces itself clearly. It often disguises itself as overcommitment, overgiving, and loyalty to clients at the expense of sustainability. Equating exhaustion and dedication, ignoring capacity limits, building a business that relies entirely on the founder's emotional labor, that is a major problem. Look, burned out founders make poor decisions, lose objectivity, and eventually exit the industry. Sustainability is an ethical obligation to your clients and to the profession. Let's move over to the compliance corner. Before we close, there is one more layer that has to be addressed: compliance. Not as a legal lecture, but as an operational reality that quietly determines whether a matchmaking business survives its first serious challenge. Many matchmakers do not realize that consumer protection laws apply to matchmaking services. Dating service statutes, cooling off periods, refund obligations, disclosure requirements, and advertising standards exist in multiple jurisdictions. These laws vary from country, state, and province, and they apply regardless of whether the matchmaker is aware of them or not. Operating without this awareness creates exposure. The moment a client disputes services, requests a refund, or files a complaint. Where things go wrong, contracts copied from templates or other matchmakers that are not jurisdictionally compliant. Privacy practices that do not reflect how data is actually collected, stored, and shared. Marketing language that implies guarantees, outcomes, or results, and no understanding of rescission periods or mandatory disclosures. Professional matchmakers understand which consumer protection and privacy laws apply to their business. They use matchmaking specific agreements that reflect actual services and are reviewed for compliance awareness. They market with clarity and transparency, not hype, and they know when to escalate questions to qualified legal counsel. This is precisely why the International Matchmaking Compliance Board exists. Accreditation is not a badge you buy, and it is not a guarantee of legal compliance. It is a verification that a matchmaking company has implemented training, systems, and accountability measures aligned with professional standards. Important note, the IMC board does not provide legal advice, does not certify compliance with any specific law, and does not replace independent legal counsel. Every matchmaking company remains solely responsible for complying with the laws and regulations that apply in the jurisdictions where they operate. Compliance is not a barrier to growth. It is the structure that allows growth to continue without collapse. Before anyone decides to move forward, there are a few questions that need honest answers. These are not aspirational questions. These are readiness questions. Ready? If you are considering becoming a matchmaker, ask yourself, am I prepared for a 12 to 18 month business building timeline, not just landing my first client? Do I have the financial runway to invest in proper training, systems, and operations while revenue stabilizes? Do I have prior business experience, or am I also learning entrepreneurship at the same time? Am I willing to follow proven frameworks before attempting to innovate? If you are already operating as a matchmaker, which of the 10 systems discussed today are already fully in place? Ask yourself, am I using matchmaking specific CRM with appropriate data protection? Can I produce jurisdiction appropriate client agreements immediately if challenged? Is my pricing sustainable, or am I undercharging to secure clients? Do I have ongoing mentorship and professional development, or am I operating in isolation? And finally, am I treating this as a legitimate business or a side project? Here's something to consider when it comes to implementation. Awareness without action does not change outcomes. These steps are where theory turns into protection. Number 1, audit all 10 systems. Create a checklist and rate each system as solid, needs work, or missing entirely. Be honest, partial implementation still creates risk. Number 2, prioritize legal and compliance gaps. If contracts, privacy practices, or data systems are questionable, pause new client intake until those gaps are resolved. One dispute costs more than multiple clients. Number 3, get professional eyes on your business. Whether through structured training or qualified advisors, stop operating without external review. Number 4, build a realistic timeline. Map the next 6 to 12 to 18 months based on actual capacity, resources, and market conditions. And number 5, commit or step away. If these systems feel excessive, I am sorry to say, matchmaking is not the right business for you. There's no shame in realizing this. There is harm in operating unprepared. The matchmaking industry is at a turning point. The choice is between continuing to normalize underprepared launches or raising the standard for what professional matchmaking requires. If you are serious about building a legitimate, sustainable matchmaking business, subscribe to On the Radar, the business intelligence brief for professional matchmakers. It delivers compliance updates, industry trends, and operational insights designed just for you, the professional matchmaker. The link is in the show notes. If today's episode exposed gaps in your foundation, explore Love Pro Mastermind Academy at lovepromastermind.com. LPMA is a done-with-you training and implementation program built to help matchmakers install these systems correctly. Professional matchmaking is not a shortcut career. It is a responsibility. Do it right or don't do it at all.